Here we are at Donington Wood. We've come here to visit Lyreco. Lyreco is one of the largest worldwide suppliers of office stationery and equipment. They moved to this site in 2001, but the business has been in the UK since 1913, having joined Lyreco in the 1980s. They're very environmentally aware and environmental issues are high up on their agenda. They gained ISO 14001, their EMS accreditation, in 1998, and since that time they've made great strides to improve environmental performance. Even though the site comprises predominantly offices, about 300 people working there, and the warehouse distribution centre where about another 300 people work, Lyreco managed to identify many important issues regarding the water. Let's go and see what they found, what they've achieved so far and what they plan to do next. Thank you.
Water's been a very recent development really for Lyreco as a key area to look at. We hadn't really put too much focus on water consumption before. We'd looked at the more obvious things like the gas consumption and the electricity consumption. Electricity's a very big expense. Lyreco started to look at water efficiency when we realised that we could host an event here on the site through our local BESS group, which is the Business Environment Support Scheme for Telford. When we had the presentation from EnviroWise, we thought that the benefits we'd be able to reap from that would be both environmental, financial, and also that we'd be able to benefit local businesses.
Water supply for the site comes in through a single mains, and that mains feeds this brake tank here behind me. You can see the incoming mains as well. Total water consumption by the site is approximately 16,000 cubic metres a year, costing the site about £40,000 a year in water supply and sewerage charges. From this brake tank, this booster pump installation beside me here supplies water to the hot and the cold water distribution system for the building, the offices and the warehouse. Water use on site is limited to what you may call domestic uses in the offices, toilets. There's a gents and ladies on each of the 4 floors, together with a canteen facility where the kitchen is equipped with a water flume macerator, a pot wash and a tunnel dishwasher. In addition, the site has a van wash outside to wash the transportation fleet when they get dirty, particularly in winter. What we'd like to show you is how water efficiency can also be important in an office or a warehouse environment where no water is used in the production process itself.
Lyreco had the water review with EnviroWise. Then once we had a detailed review back from the water review, we were able to then build a strategic plan of action of where we were going to go next.
During the water review, Lyreco looked at their incoming water meter. This in itself enabled them to identify a leak that was occurring just downstream of the meter, which they immediately rectified, saving about 300 cubic metres a year of water and, perhaps more importantly, saving them over £600 a year.
There's the achievements that we had straight away, so there were things like the leak that was identified in the meter pit that was fixed straight away. Then you've got the more long-term things that needed a bit more looking at first, so we've got the reduction in the water pressure from 4 to 2. And then there's the ongoing considerations such as the urinals.
In addition, the water review enabled Lyreco to identify where and how water was being used on site. And that was not just the obvious places, toilets, urinals, sinks, etc., but also some of the less obvious and perhaps more complicated issues to consider on a site like this where water is not the prime focus. Lyreco then moved on to look at where water savings could be achieved, again the obvious areas in the washrooms, but also in the other areas like the kitchen and the van wash.
After the water review, we realised a few key points that we hadn't initially realised before, such as the urinals using a lot more water than we had anticipated. I think not always when you've got an office and a warehouse do you think of things like the water pressure as being a good way to reduce your consumption of water.
Lyreco realised early on that simple questions needed answering regarding water. How much water do we consume? Do we have a graph of water use so we can see how we're doing? Where do we use our water? And do the numbers add up? Lyreco's first move was to use this incoming water meter as a means of getting water consumption data. That meter is now read routinely and consumption plotted. Lyreco had known that water was supplied via a brake tank and booster pumps, but for obvious reasons they'd given little thought to the actual pressure in the distribution system and the effect that pressure may have on water use. For example, flow through a tap at 1 bar pressure, 1 bar is 10 metres static head of water, may be around 10 litres a minute, but at 4 bar this may increase to something over 30 litres a minute.
We have regular meter readings that are taken by our building services team. Those are very important because then we can look at those against our water bills. That's a very important stage of reviewing your water so that you know whether you're being charged the correct amounts for the right amount of water. Currently Lyreco have a building services team that have a planned maintenance schedule, and we're going to be looking at including even more water checking into that schedule as well in the future. We do think that that will be a great benefit to ourselves, and hopefully then we'll be able to let other businesses know about that.
With some 600 people on site, using taps for hand washing, reducing pressure may well save some 2,000 cubic metres of water a year, a financial saving of over £4,000. But that's in simple terms just taking into account water and sewerage charges. When considering that this water may also be warm, i.e. containing energy through heating the water, and considering that this energy will be saved if the water consumption is reduced, the savings are more likely to be in the region of £5,000 a year. Lyreco investigated the pressure in their water distribution system and managed to reduce it from 4 bar to 2 bar. While on the subject of taps, Lyreco are investigating the use of self-closing percussion taps to ensure that taps are turned off after use, particularly in the toilets and other areas. This is still being evaluated, and they're also considering the use of 90-degree lever arm taps, which they already have in the kitchens, because these are much easier to turn off and also more hygienic.
The main benefits Lyreco have noticed since carrying out the water review in April have been a noticeable reduction in our water consumption. We've looked at a water consumption of 40 to 41 cubic metres going down to 36 to 37 cubic metres per day, which is around 10% reduction in our consumption. So already we've noticed a real difference. That's obviously going to benefit the environment, and it's also going to benefit us financially. We're hoping that looking at the figures, that should mean around £4,000 a year that it will equate to in the water and sewage. Lyreco set an annual target for reducing our water consumption of around 5% this year. We've also already achieved approximately 10% reduction just from the fixing of the leaks and the small changes that we've made already. So we're already exceeded our target, and obviously we'll continue to hopefully do that. We're hoping to have a full review of our drainage plan on the site. We feel that that would benefit us, and just to have a more detailed understanding of the intricacies of our drainage as well. And we've also been looking at water harvesting, and we've also been looking at the urinals because we're aware of the sort of the high volume water usage at the moment on the urinals, and we'll be looking at either sensors for the flushing of those, or at the moment we're actually looking at reducing the amount of water that's held in the tank for that.
Would you like chips with that? Anything else?
Well, here we are in Lyreco's canteen. Now, while every office may not have a canteen as smart as these, the canteen and kitchen areas are areas where water is used, and it's worth having a look at water efficiency. In a canteen such as this one, you may have dishwashers, you may have pot washers, water flumes to food macerators. Let's have a look at each of those in turn. Dishwashers, even a batch dishwasher, can help you save water by using it full all the time rather than at half load. In this particular canteen, there is a tunnel dishwasher where the recovered water tanks with detergent and first initial rinse water are made up using the final rinse water off of the spray bars in the last section of the dishwasher. If any of the nozzles on those spray bars have fallen off or become detached, then the flow through those rinse bars may be higher than necessary, leading to excessive use of water, topping up the recovered water tanks more than necessary, which may lead them to overflow. And again, that may lead to an added value loss in terms of detergent or hot water. So if you have got a tunnel dishwasher, look at the final rinse bars and make sure the nozzles are okay. Similarly, with a pot washer, where you've got a high pressure spray of water to clean out the pots and pans as at Lyreco's, then just make sure that there's a trigger operated nozzle on the end, so when it's not in use it automatically switches off. Again, this uses warm or hot water, saving water, saving energy and saving money. The other item is a food macerator, which often has a water flume as is shown here. Make sure that the water only flows when absolutely necessary. Again, saving water and saving money.
I would greatly recommend any business, whether they be a smaller office or like ourselves an office with a warehouse, to undertake a water review, even if it's just a small water review where people are checking for leaks on a regular basis. I think that there's real benefits, and that the benefits can be seen very quickly as well, and particularly if it's then planned into a maintenance schedule, the people can benefit greatly environmentally and financially.
Well, that concludes our quick review of water efficiency and water efficiency improvements that Lyreco have made, and indeed those they plan to do. And I hope you could see that even though this particular site just uses water in the domestic and ancillary activities, water and water efficiency is still very important for them. Whether it be through looking at meter readings and trending and monitoring consumption, through to reducing water use at the point of use on taps, etc., or indeed looking at pressure reduction for reducing water consumption throughout the site in one hit. Water efficiency, even in an office environment, can mean that you too can save water and save money.